protest. They don't travel up here.
All right. Is the microphone on? Okay. All right. Good morning. Let's see. Thank you for joining us today for today's August 21st SBCAG board meeting. For the record, my name is Randy Rouse. I'm the chair of the SBCAG board. Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Director Silva? Absent. Director Perotti?
Present here.
Director Patino?
Here.
Director Mosby?
Present.
Director Lee?
Here.
Director Lavanino?
Here.
Director Julian?
Here.
Director Hartman?
Here.
Director Clark?
Here.
Director Capps?
Here.
Director Brown?
Here.
Vice Chair Nelson absent, and Chair Rouse.
Here. All right. Very good. Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Again?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Very good. This is the public comment period for items not on today's agenda. Speakers have up to 3 minutes each, with a total of 15 minutes allotted for public comment. Madam Clerk, are there any speaker slips or people that wanted for public comment?
If there are any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. There is one hand raised at this time. It's Francis Romero. If you can please unmute yourself.
Well, thank you. Good morning, Chair Rouse, board members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Francis Romero. I live in Guadalupe, and I'm a former SBCAG director. First, I want to say thank you. I understand and appreciate the challenges that you have to deal with. And in respecting the amount of time I have, I'm going to jump around a little bit here. But my main comments today are concerns about the roadway between Guadalupe and Santa Maria, both 166 and Betaravia. First, I want to say that I'm not alone. Several of us call Betaravia Washboard Road now. There are segments that are still in dire need of rehabilitation. I hope that's in your work program and that you're aware of that. I also want to note that one of the worst segments on on 166 is between Highway 1 and Obispo. It is in extremely poor condition. And while I am the original planner on the Pasadena project from years and years ago, and I understand that someday there's going to be development along the frontage, I don't know how long we have to wait to have the road segment there to be made more reasonable. It's extremely bad condition right now. I'd also like to address the travel time between Guadalupe and Santa Maria. We're talking 10 miles. You leave at the wrong time of day, 3 p.m., and it is a 30 to 35 minute drive. Betaravia is no better of an option. And back in May, some of you may have heard about the road rage incident that we had because people get very frustrated and they do really dumb things. They try to pass on double yellow. They drive on the shoulder of the road when they can. Of course, at times, the shoulder of the road is full of commerce, all matter of commerce, from cooked meals, hot dogs, bonsai, wood planters, clothing, furniture, blankets, honey, you name it. You can buy it on in the right of way, which really should be used for vehicles. Also, there are concerns about emergency vehicles, ambulances being able to get back and forth between Guadalupe and Santa Maria at the wrong time of day. Also want to mention that during the time that I was a director, we did have funds allocated for some CHP presence. It has been literally years since I've seen a CHP officer anywhere on the stretch between Guadalupe and Santa Maria. I would think with all the concern about VMTs, time in traffic, on and on, that perhaps a flex lane could be considered between Guadalupe and Santa Maria. I understand the right-of-way width. I understand the expense and the cost to do something like that. But a third lane, there is definitely enough room for one. Many other jurisdictions successfully use this model, and that flex lane is used at peak hour times for travel when necessary. And I would hope that that would be considered. I don't know if I'll ever see that happen in my lifetime, knowing how long projects take, but if we don't start, it'll never happen. And I do want to say that the Black Road interchange is a huge improvement, and that was something that was approved back when I was on SBCAG. So I am not unaware of how long it takes to do things. I am a contract or consulting planner and have been in the county for about 25 years. And we need some relief between Guadalupe and Santa Maria. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any further public commenters?
Are there any other commenters on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak at this time? Please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. There are no further responses.
All right, very good. We'll close public comment and we'll move on to the consent calendar. Are there any announcements for the consent calendar today?
There are no announcements for the consent calendar.
Okay. Are there any directors that would like to pull any item for discussion or separate vote? Any in Santa Barbara? Very good. Is there any public comment on any items on the consent calendar?
Are there any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak? Would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. There are no requests to speak.
Okay, with that, we'll entertain a motion for the consent calendar. May I have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Chair Patino,
Second.
second by Silva. Okay. May we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Silva,
Aye.
Director Patino,
Aye.
Director Perotti,
Aye.
Director Mosby,
Aye.
Director Lee,
Aye.
Director Lavanino, Director Julian,
Aye.
Director Hartman,
Aye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Aye.
Director Capps,
Aye.
Director Brown,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nelson absent, and Chair Rouse.
Aye. Thank you very much. Close the consent calendar. We'll move on to 5A. Madam Clerk, would you read 5A into the record, please?
Cooperative funding agreement for additional temporary peak period intercity rail service.
Okay. In the direction, Mr. Bonfilio.
Thanks. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Mr. Mayor. For the record, Aaron Bonfilio for SBCAG, Director of Multimodal Programs. Great. All right. So today's presentation is not for action. It's for information only, but we felt it was incumbent upon us to come back and present this item, provide an update as to where we are with regard to implementing additional train service between Santa Barbara and Ventura counties. In particular, where are we with the train and the aforementioned Lane in a Train program? With that, we'll provide a brief update regarding the type of service that has been negotiated and brought forward and planned for implementation, the ticketing that comes along with that, and then where we are with regard to negotiations and next steps. Oops. There we go. Are you doing this, Lauren, or am I doing it? Oh, I've got the clicker. Yeah, that's all right. Thank you. Oh, all right. Okay. So as I mentioned, today's item is not for action. It's just for information purposes only, but we did feel it was necessary to come before you because as we started out on this process a number of years ago and formally entered into an agreement with Metrolink to implement additional service, we did anticipate a timeline where we would be bringing forward a number of agreements to the board at about this time of the year. And we're very close, but we are not there yet. So we're bringing this update to you now to help explain and understand where we are. When we set off with Metrolink in January to implement additional train service, the process forward from that was that they were going to begin negotiations with LOSAN. That's the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner operator, the train operator that currently runs between LA and Goleta and far north to San Luis Obispo. Lausanne and Metrolink have completed their negotiations, all but for a few items left to discuss regarding Union Pacific. And the framework that we've identified is that Lausanne will subcontract with Metrolink. Mind you, Lausanne has the access rights on the Union Pacific right-of-way to operate train services. So from a process standpoint, it's very straightforward for UP or Union Pacific to have an additional operator on the line so long as it's under Lausanne's authority. SBCAG and VCTC, our new partner in funding train service, will jointly fund the program to make sure that this program is successful. And with that, we'll be bringing along the additional northbound train, that's the train in the lane, and also paired with an existing southbound train in the afternoon. I should add that Metrolink will operate and Lausanne will subcontract for a train that will return southbound mid-morning from Santa Barbara County into Los Angeles area that is also available to riders. So overall, expanding the Lausanne set of services quite a bit, considering what we have going to and from Los Angeles. As noted, it will utilize Lausanne's agreement that they have with UP temporarily, after which point Lausanne intends to operate this train via the state-supported service that they have operated for years. So here's our anticipated schedule. I say anticipated because Union Pacific may make some minor time adjustments. In particular, they're looking at that southbound 10:30 a.m. train leaving Goleta to LA Union Station. That area, that time of day is a bit more congested. There's not as much concern going northbound right now. That was, identified with a fine-tooth comb quite literally to the minute, because we know that there are so many southbound trains and so many northbound trains that we have a really small window of opportunity to hit that 8 a.m. start time that we're trying and striving for. That said, the southbound train at 10:30 a.m. may shift by a few minutes here and there, but as you can see, there's a pretty big gap in service between 8:30 a.m. and then that afternoon. So we're grateful to have any additional service, and we don't want the train to wait too long and be bunched up with another, so trying to strive for right there in the middle as best we can. All right, with regard to ticketing, this was a question that came up at the last board meeting when we presented this, is what kind of tickets, what kind of program will the passengers experience, what's that going to look like for them? Quite simply, it's all going to be done through the Amtrak system that exists today. It's very simple that way. There's, as I showed on the last slide, about 10 trips total that operate already. So this leverages that. If someone wants to buy an Amtrak ticket for the first train in the morning, so be it. If they want to use the ticket later in the day, they can do that as well without having to juggle between Metrolink tickets or Amtrak tickets. It's all under one roof. And that also adds for some ease of transition for when Lausanne does take back the service and take back the slot to operate in the morning as well. Passengers who get used to this will get used to operating or buying only one set of tickets. I will also add that in 2020, or it was actually 2019, SBCAG was the recipient of some grant funding from the state, specifically to buy down Amtrak tickets. So this makes use of that grant funding. We're going to leverage that agreement that we have for additional funding to make the cost of the service more affordable for riders. And we'll be doing that through an employer partnership program whereby we can help leverage their participation and matching dollars with that grant funding. The anticipated pricing is noted there. I will note that if this is successful, we do anticipate considering raising rates depending on the market elasticity, what we anticipate for ridership. We don't want to keep things so low that we're not making back some operating revenue, but at the same time, these were the rates that were introduced in 2018, so we recognize that starting off much higher than that could be a shock to the system. So that said, the community is well versed with this pricing. It is slightly higher than the existing bus rates today, but not so high that there's not an imbalance between the bus and the train necessarily. All right. So why are we here? Quite simply, there's been a lot of back and forth, in particular legal review that has come across from the multiple agencies that are participating. To remind the group, it's SBCAG, us, the Ventura County Transportation Commission, also funding this from Ventura County. Lausanne, which is the operator of record and has the Union Pacific access. Union Pacific, of course, because that's their right-of-way that we're operating on, and Metrolink. And through the review process, LoSan identified that Metrolink would be a subcontractor to them. That added a little bit of time to reorganize some of the agreement planning that had been ongoing for the past couple of years. But that said, it does simplify things from a passenger perspective, and certainly with LoSan's intent to operate this service going forward, it makes things very clear that Metrolink is simply doing this on behalf of the agencies in the interim. Where we are today, we've all but finalized the agreements. There are some matters with regard to insurance that you'll hear about when the agreement is brought forward in the coming months with regard to the funding of the service. But generally speaking, we've agreed on terms and structure the project and have it budgeted for the upcoming fiscal year. Union Pacific is currently reviewing the proposal by LoSan, and that is where we are at today. So, oops, there we go. Up ahead, we have the finalization of the funding agreements that we're working through right now. We plan to bring those to our respective boards in September. The group at Ventura County will likely go in October just because their meeting is within about 10 days from now. So there's not too much that they can do between now and the beginning of September. Then the next agreement set that will go forward will be the operating agreement between Metrolink and LoSan. That's also anticipated for September or shortly thereafter. But outstanding and most critical to this process is the agreement with Union Pacific. Union Pacific, which owns the right-of-way, owns access, and dictates who can run on the line, whether it's freight or passenger rail, has to review the proposal, not just the timetable and the set of services that we want to operate, but rather the operators themselves. And so there's a certification process that has to take place. That it has about a 12-week lead time with regard to the FRA regulations. And until that Union Pacific agreement is finalized with LoSan, the labor crew at Metrolink cannot begin their certification process. So while we're all but ready, waiting on the track, the service cannot begin until UP approves that agreement with LoSan. To help expedite this, we have a number of different activities going on and processes in place. For example, I believe Metrolink will be taking a board recommendation in the next couple of weeks to their board, simply asking for authorization to proceed with these agreements once they're ready, seeking approval from the board to execute and further negotiate. So that said, we do have Jason Jewell, I believe Jason Jewell is online, the managing director from the LoSan Rail Agency, Corridor Agency, to help answer any questions that we may have. Looking ahead, our best case scenario would be to begin operations shortly after the new year. That's assuming an October timeline for approval of all the agreements with that 12-week start. We don't want to begin right before the holidays or try and cram something in when staff is limited from the employer standpoint, because a lot of what we're doing right now is working with the employers, building up that anticipation and working with them on the program for bringing on large sets of employees to ride the train together. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and also Jason Jewell. So.
All right, very good. Any questions of staff from the board? Anybody in Santa Barbara? Oh, okay. Director Silva.
Just so I can kind of understand a bit more, could you, which employers are you primarily working with? Because I keep wondering, in the experience of the rider, you mentioned how you're kind of pricing against the bus. Are we attracted? There's just so many things. Like, are we trying to attract the bus rider? Is it trying to get cars off? Are we able to close the loop? Because if you get dropped off in Goleta or Santa Barbara, I would assume employers aren't necessarily located in walking distance from those stations in a very convenient manner. So are we thinking it's a bike ride once they get off? Is it I just didn't know exactly your view of the experience.
Yes. Well, as the director of the multimodal programs, I like to say it's a multimodal approach. But in all honesty, it's going to be a variety of bus trips, carpools or van pools leaving from the station, and certainly walking and biking. What we noticed in the Santa Barbara station, there's much more interest. And I should add, we're doing surveying right now of the public, those that were involved and signed up during the last train program, but also those that have come online since. And we have a network of about 16,000 contacts that we reach out to. Many of the large employers receive our newsletter, and through our surveying have found, and while we haven't done a final report yet, have found that there's a lot of interest at the Santa Barbara station less so with transit, but more with those employers that are directly adjacent or nearby the station. Walking does not seem to be a challenge. For example, Cottage Hospital, which is farther away, may require a shuttle, and we're working with MTD to add that. For those that were here in 2018, you'll recall there was a transit program that was implemented that shuttled passengers from the train to their work site, including to Cottage. In the case of Goleta, that shuttle was pretty successful. We had a lot of people using it both east and west along Hollister, and then as they went west, went down to UCSB. So to answer your question, Director Silva, it's the largest employers in the county, UCSB, and then the slew of companies that are along the Hollister corridor are all very interested in the service.
Thank you.
And of course, the answer is always to take cars off the road and reduce congestion every way we can. We did not find a giant subset that we were taking from the bus system last time around, but we did notice that a lot of people utilize the bus going one way and the train the other way, for example. And we'll have that same agreement in place with the next program.
They can use the same pass.
That's correct. You simply show your Amtrak pass to the bus driver, and they're able to log it and then seek reimbursement through the state.
So I had a question in terms of, so I make sure I understand the ticketing system. I'm a commuter from Ventura. I want to come up. I work in Santa Barbara 5 days a week. And when you say the 10 bus pass, is that a 10 ride pass? Is that 10 one-way rides, or is that 10 round trip rides? Is each way a ride?
It's 10 one-way
10 one-way
trips.
rides.
Yes.
And then if I were to buy the monthly pass,
Unlimited for the entire calendar month.
okay, and that means that I could take the Metrolink up in the morning and take the Surfliner down in the afternoon, and I could go on any of those
That's correct.
anytime.
Yeah, any number of the trains throughout the day. In fact, you could go multiple times per day if you really want.
Okay, but once again, if I had if I bought the 10 ride packet, then I could still have that flexibility for any of the trains that.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
And you can ride the Coastal Express bus as well.
Yeah,
So
the
you
Clean
also
Air
have
Express,
those
okay.
choices as well.
Yep.
All right, very good. Just I understood. Any other questions from the board?
I just have one.
Chair Patino.
Okay, so you're not going to start this before the holidays. Is there a projected start date?
Well, as I mentioned, Director, we're hopeful that the agreement with Union Pacific will wrap up shortly. As some probably know, UP is in negotiations right now to acquire or merge with Norfolk Southern, the other largest rail operator in the country, freight operator. So that has absorbed a bit of their legal activity, to say the least. But this agreement is on the docket. We are working through it. I believe LoSAN can speak better to where they are with negotiations. But the hope would be that if they can approve this by, say, their October meeting, then we could launch sometime in January.
Oh, thank you.
All right, any further
Chair
questions
Rouse?
from the board? Yes.
Chair Rouse, Paula Perotti.
Okay.
Just a comment.
Director Brody.
Thank you. A comment on our Goleta train depot is up and moving quite quickly, and it's due to be completed in June or summer of 2026. And we've made arrangements for buses, turnarounds. We're working on bike share and places where people can store their bikes. So there's a lot of options because we realize that the folks coming up might need will be working on the Hollister corridor. So we've planned all, what we can do to help those folks, and MTD, of course, as well. So I just wanted to make that clear.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any public commenters for this item?
If there are any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. And there are no responses.
Okay, for good. And is there any further board discussion on this item? All right, very good. There's no action necessary, so thank you. And we'll move on to item 5B. Would you please read that into the record?
Item 5B, Connected 2050-2025 Regional Transportation Plan and the Sustainable Community Strategy, an addendum to the previously certified program Environmental Impact Report. Recommended actions: 1, hold a public hearing on the Connected 2050-2025 Regional Transportation Plan and Sustainable Community Strategy. 2, find that pursuant to CEQA Guidelines, Section 15162, after considering the program environmental impact report certified by the board on August 19, 2021, SCH number 20201202233, and the PEIR addendum to the previously adopted Connected 2050 dated August 21, 2025, that no substantial changes are proposed, no substantial changes in circumstances have occurred, and no new information of substantial importance regarding environmental effects of the 2025 update to the RTP-SCS or the sufficiency of feasibility of mitigation measures have occurred, and therefore the recommended action is within the scope of the prior environmental review documents for the Connected 2050 RTP-SCS, and thus no new environmental document shall be prepared for this action. And 3, adopt Resolution 25- next in order, adopting the 2025 update to Connected 2050.
All right, very good. Mr. Becker.
All right, thank you, Chair Rouse and directors. Mike Becker, Director of Planning at SBCAG. Today's item represents the culmination of a roughly 2-year-long process to update the region's regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy. To begin that process and consistent with state law, we're here to conduct the second and final public hearing prior to your action to consider adoption of the regional transportation plan. And before I begin the presentation, I'd like to highlight the original version of Connected 2050 was adopted by this board in August 2021. And as we entered into the cycle, we recognized that there was not a whole lot that had changed or that we anticipated would change with the update this time. And we actually explored the potential of readopting the current plan. And since there wasn't a lot that required significant change, we focused on 3 areas of improvement. We had some flexibility this cycle in terms of if there's not a whole lot that we must address, then we can focus on what we would like to address. And with that, we focused on our project list. We refocused to concentrate more on the regionally significant projects and not hosting everybody's capital improvement programs. We also focused on improving the readability of the plan, and that included a rewrite of most of the plan. Primarily, the largest rewrites were the executive summary and Chapter 2, which is a sustainable community strategy. And otherwise, this update to Connected 2050 continues the planning strategies, policies, and transportation investments that go back through several planning cycles. All right. As we conduct the second public hearing, I'll highlight what I will present today. I'm going to give an overview of what is a regional transportation plan and sustainable community strategy, a brief overview of the timeline update process to how we got to where we are today, brief overview of the update. As I mentioned, I'll touch on the focus areas, as well as we received some comments and we have made some changes to the plan. And we also responded to all the comments, so I'll discuss that, and then what comes next. And I'll highlight that this is not a lengthy presentation. This is an abbreviated version of what I provided to you in May. All right, regional transportation plan. For us, I like to consider it's essentially with your city or county, you have a general or comprehensive plan. That's what the regional transportation plan is to SBCAG. It guides the decision-making process and highlights the transportation investments the region expects to make over the coming years. We're required to have a minimum of a 20-year planning horizon. We're adopting here in 2025, and this plan goes out to 2050. When we come back in 4 years, the next one will very likely go out to 2060. And finally, the plan must be fiscally constrained, meaning that we can only plan for transportation projects which the region reasonably expects to be able to afford. In 2006, Assembly Bill 32 passed. That was the Global Warming Solutions Act. And that called for reducing greenhouse gas emissions across all sectors. Following that, Senate Bill 375 was passed in 2008. And that's focused on addressing one sector of greenhouse gas emissions, and that's tailpipe emissions from light-duty vehicles. SB 375 is the reason that the Regional Transportation Plan includes a sustainable community strategy. And the California Air Resources Board is charged with setting a greenhouse gas emissions reduction target for each region in the state. The SBCAG region's current target is minus 17% per capita as compared to 2005 levels for target year 2035. Our plan achieves that level of reduction. The target is achieved through a combination of assumed land use development patterns as well as transportation policy and investment. In our region, the land use development patterns matter the most, and in a few slides I'll show you why. But despite the law requiring us to set out land use development pattern, there's no requirement of consistency between what a city or a county does and what we do. And finally, if we were unable to achieve the target, the law allows us to develop what's called an alternative planning strategy, which would show, in theory, how we could achieve the target, but it's not fiscally constrained, and it's the sustainable community strategy shows how we will achieve the target. The alternative planning strategy, if we could not achieve the target, shows how we, in theory, could achieve the target. On to the schedule. Here's the broad schedule that we followed to get to where we are today. We are at the yellow dot, the furthest to the right. Considering the plan adoption, we started this process roughly 2 years ago, and through that we had 12 touch points with the Joint Technical Advisory Committee. We had 3 phases of a public process, as well as 5 items came to the SBCAG board related to the update. And as it's due every 4 years, we're just about ready to get started on the next one. For the regional transportation plan, a quick facts on that. We anticipate through the target year between 2025 and 2050 that we have about $6.2 billion available for transportation investment. Of that, about $5.5 billion is assigned to particular projects. And I would note that the gap between that 5.5 and the 6.2 is related to a future measure. Beyond 2030, we assume that a measure will continue, but as a region, we have not identified the priorities. Or from 2030 to 2040, yes. 2040. Or 2040 to 2050. Thanks, Margie. So that's the amount of funding. That's the discrepancy in the funding there. And as I mentioned, we did achieve the greenhouse gas reduction target through this plan, and it is consistent with the state's planning goals that are noted on the screen. On the sustainable community strategy, we focus on developing in a location-efficient manner. As I mentioned, we have 2 ways to address the greenhouse gas emissions reduction, through transportation investment or through land use development. In our region, we found that without addressing land use development patterns, there's no way that we're meeting the target. Transportation investment alone will not solve the problem. We also receive some greenhouse gas reduction credit for continuing remote work, as well as the promotion and future growth in van pools. The bulk of the funding available in this region is spent purely just on maintaining the existing system. So there's not a ton of flexibility in terms of transportation projects. And for those transportation projects, as a region, we focus on implementing the Measure A projects, the Final 4, the lane and the train. And for the land use development patterns, the one tool that SBCAG does have is the RENA process. And in the 6th RENA cycle, which was tied to the last update of the plan, it allocated growth consistent with the sustainable community strategy vision of closing the gap between where people live and where they work. All right, and this is just to highlight why addressing the land use development patterns are important. The dark bars represent commuters. The lighter bars represent the vehicle miles traveled associated with the cohort of commuters. Across the x-axis is the different cohorts of commute distances. And really what we want to show here is we have a relatively small portion of commuters that are responsible for the bulk of the vehicle miles traveled, and vehicle miles traveled are correlated to greenhouse gas emissions. And you see the last bullet there, 5% of the longest commutes have the same amount of vehicle miles traveled as 86% of the shorter commutes. Okay, so as we got into this, as I mentioned, it was a light update cycle, which enabled us to focus on kind of improvements to the plan from our perspective. And the first was to refocus our projects. The transportation projects are included in the plan on those that are regionally significant, which is what the law actually requires us to do. In the past, the project list had grown and grown and grown, and largely just with local projects, which this board has no discretion over. The funding does not flow through SBCAG. So we wanted to focus on those projects that flow through SBCAG, or SBCAG has a funding role in them, or decision-making process in them. And I believe it was August 2023, we came to this board and received approval for a definition of what a regionally significant project is. And then also, the plan became too technical in nature, where it was difficult to read, especially for anybody who's outside of this field. So we really wanted to focus on making it more plain language, and I think we accomplished that. And as I mentioned, we rewrote most of the plan, but the particular focus on really trying to make it readable to some member of the public is on the executive summary, as well as Chapter 2, the Sustainable Community Strategy. And we did have the California Transportation Commission updated the Regional Transportation Plan guidelines as we got into the cycle, so we just had to ensure that we continued to meet any new guideline requirements. So we came here in May and conducted the first public hearing, as well as we had a public comment process that runs through today. We did ask, at least for our partner agencies, to provide comments by mid-July. And we received comments from 5 individuals or organizations. It was with Caltrans, actually, the Caltrans District 5 list included 38 comments, so it was a fairly lengthy list of comments. Appendix J, which is, I believe, is part of Attachment B, includes all the comments that we received, as well as the staff response and how it was incorporated into the plan or not. But I did want to highlight 2 of the comments that came from board members. Director Brown, during the May meeting, you mentioned considering evacuation planning. For that, we did have discussions with City of Solvang staff, as well as internally at SBCAG. And in the plan, we had a couple small changes to address that. Number one is we included a project to update the Transportation Emergency Preparedness Plan. There was one from the roughly 2017, 2018, that was a joint effort between Southern Santa Barbara County and Ventura County, though your comment highlighted the need to develop one for Santa Barbara County as a whole. And then the other thing we did is within the text of the plan, we highlighted the roles and responsibilities related to evacuation planning. And then we also received a comment from Director Nelson related to the RENA process. And for that, we added a statement within the text of the plan highlighting the flexibility that SBCAG maintains in developing a RENA allocation methodology. But every other comment was either resulted in either a change to the plan, or within Appendix J explains why we could not make the change. So that leads us to today. In May, we had the first public hearing. Today, we're asking you to have a second public hearing and consider the plan for adoption. If the board does decide to adopt the plan, we will submit the final plan to the California Transportation Commission as required. We will continue working with the California Air Resources Board to demonstrate compliance with Senate Bill 375. And we will post the plan to the SBCAG website, and then we'll get started on the next one. And as Liana read the lengthy recommended action, I bolded a couple words to highlight what we're asking for, but to hold a public hearing, to find that the recommended action is within the scope of the prior environmental documents, as well as the addendum to the program environmental impact report, and then consider adopting the resolution to approve this action. And as I mentioned, we had 12 touch points with the Joint Technical Advisory Committee, which represents both the planning and public works folks from all the jurisdictions in the region, as well as the Air Pollution Control District, Caltrans, and MTD. And at the August Joint Technical Advisory Committee meeting, the committee voted unanimously to recommend that you approve the staff recommendation for today. And that's all I have. I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, questions from board members for staff? Oh, Director Silva.
Guess I'll have another one. This was in regards to the slide. It's kind of just to understand the data point for the work vehicle miles traveled for why jobs housing balance matters.
Yes.
I know that the big one you have is over 64 miles is what's the main contributor for that. Is that miles taking place within the county, or is that miles just, so I just wouldn't know if that's in our control or if it's like outside counties counted into that or something like that.
Good question, Director Silva. The length is, so those work trips end in Santa Barbara County. So they could begin in Los Angeles County, Ventura County, San Luis Obispo County, but they end, so there are people commuting to jobs in Santa Barbara County.
Gotcha. So when it comes to like that being the main one for that, we're not exactly sure the origin spot. It's just we know that that's where their ending is at 64. So we can't say it's like, oh, this is broken up by some from south to south.
We could quantify it.
Okay.
Yes. And I believe at the beginning of last year, the board approved the Understanding Regional Travel Patterns report, which went into greater detail on the commutes to each jurisdiction, where they're coming from, where they're going to.
Okay. Thank you.
Further questions from the board? Anyone in Santa Barbara? All right, very good. Are there any public commenters on this item?
If there are any members of the public on the Zoom webinar who wish to speak, would you please use the raise hand feature and I will call upon you. And there are no requests.
All right, very good. And then we'll move back to the board for any discussion. I just had a couple of points. It kind of relates to Director Brown's comment about evacuation and whatnot, because we just went through an urban infill project approval, a builder's remedy project, and that was one of the big subjects. And as we move forward with impeding a lot of the roads with quote unquote improvements for bikes and whatever, and of course our most famous problem, State Street, and on the heels of the Palisades disaster, that is a real problem. And I think those analyses, because we're no stranger to mudslides and fires and whatnot, particularly in the city of Santa Barbara. So I think that's a good point. One of the points that's also hard to, as we do these urban infills or try to get the live work situations, is we have a lot of people, especially in the upper executive levels of jobs, that don't want to be in a rental apartment. They move specifically to North or South County in order to have some place like a home to live in. So that's a factor that doesn't really show up academically. And I know that Mr. Becker himself has tried to walk me through the RENA process, so I understand, and that's a big lift all by itself to do that. But I think just a comment from me about the promotion of remote work. Remote work has been, as we noted through COVID, it's been really tough on the business atmospheres in the urban cores. So it's hard to, I mean, I appreciate and approve the findings and staff's work on this. But philosophically, I think there's a lot of real problems with what the application is and what the thought process is, because it really has disrupted our business atmosphere and diminished some of the job opportunities in the urban core. So this is going to have to evolve beyond where we're today, I think, at some point in time, and as we move forward into our processes.
Right. And on the remote work point, I'd like to highlight that for this plan, we're taking credit for what's occurring.
Yes. I get it. No, and like I said, I'm absolutely supportive of staff's work on this. I just wanted to stamp my little feet and protest out loud. So. And with that, let's see here. If there's no other discussion, I will entertain a motion and a second on this. Anybody?
So move.
Moved by Director Silva, seconded by Director Brown. And we will have a roll call vote, please.
Director Silva,
Aye.
Director Perotti,
Aye.
Director Patino,
Aye.
Director Mosby,
Aye.
Director Lee,
Aye.
Director Lavanino,
Aye.
Director Julian,
Aye.
Director Hartman,
Aye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Capps,
Aye.
Director Brown,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nelson absent, and Chair Rouse.
Aye, thank you. It passes unanimously with all present. Thank you, Mr. Becker. We'll move on now to Joe Urban, Caltrans Director and Office of Project Management on behalf of District 5 Director Scott Eads.
Actually, I will go first. The executive
Well, then go
director's
right
report.
ahead. You're not on the script.
Oh, okay. Maybe a different item. We're item number 6, executive director's report.
Oh, okay.
Do I have your approval to
You
continue
certainly
on?
do.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. After more than 20 years of service at SBCAG, we say goodbye to a valued colleague, leader, and friend, Martha Gibbs. I've personally had the pleasure of working with Martha by my side. I consider her a friend, a colleague, and a coworker, and a peer. She's been instrumental in our recruitment efforts and the reason we have such quality staff. She's also been instrumental in balancing our yearly budgets, which is an astronomical task every year, but she's so good at it. She's just demonstrated her calming presence and professional but caring at the same time when dealing with difficult issues, and I was really, really happy to have her by my side. I will always be grateful to have her and her support and guidance, and I will continue that moving forward. She was a mentor to many of the staff at SBCAG and has been an active participant in the lunch bunch in the daily social hour at lunchtime. While I'm deeply sad to see her go, I'm really excited for her as she begins her next chapter in her retirement. Martha's dedication and care remain part of SBCAG's DNA, the small agency that does big things for years to come. I also want to give an opportunity for a former SBCAG employee, SBCAG director, and current Assembly Member Hart also wanted to recognize Martha Gibbs today. And Christina Hernandez from his staff is here to present a resolution on his behalf. Christina, would you like to come up?
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, Board. My name is Christina Hernandez, and I'm here on behalf of Assembly Member Hart. He wishes he could be here in person, but asked me to share his gratitude for Martha Gibbs. Members' resolution by Honorable Member Greg Hart relative to commending Martha Gibbs. Whereas Martha Gibbs is retiring as Chief Financial Officer and Human Resource Director of the Santa Barbara County Associations of Governments after more than 2 decades of dedicated service to the agency. And it is appropriate at this time to highlight her many achievements and extend to her special public recognition and commendations for her professional and civic leadership. And whereas a devoted and accomplished public servant, Martha began her career in public finance 39 years ago, and after joining the Santa Barbara County Associations of Governments in 2005, she played a pivotal role in overseeing the agency's financial operation, managing the implementation of Measure A, introducing modern administrative systems, and recruiting and mentoring the next generation of public finance professionals. And where in areas in 2018, Martha was promoted to Chief Financial Officer and Human Resource Director, and in these capacities, she held responsibility for managing an annual budget of $100 million and leading vital administrative functions with an exceptional blend of fiscal expertise, integrity, compassion, and quiet determination while successfully navigating the agency through times of transition and growth with remarkable judgment and grace. And where areas steering the Santa Barbara County Associations of Governments forward, Martha has supported the agency's modernization efforts, which included the adoption of a modern office software suite. and a shift to cloud-based filing systems that enhance organizational efficiencies and collaboration, and beyond her contributions to improve workflow systems and balance budgets. She has cultivated an enduring legacy rooted in kindness, mentorship, and teamwork, and created a respectful and supportive workplace culture. And where areas through exemplary service and tireless dedication, Martha Gibbs has left a lasting impact on the Santa Barbara County Associations of Government and the many communities within Santa Barbara County. And over the course of her esteemed career, she has embodied the very best of public service and set a high standard for others to follow. Now, therefore, it be resolved by Assemblymember Greg Hart that Martha Gibbs be commended for her outstanding service, leadership, and unwavering commitment to the people of Santa Barbara County, and extend sincere best wishes for a well-earned, joyful, and fulfilling retirement dated 21st day of August 2025. Thank you.
I'd like to take a picture while all of you are still standing. That would be great. And then with Christina, yeah. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Do you want another picture?
With my camera.
Okay.
Say something.
Yeah.
So again, I want thank you for giving us this time to say goodbye to Martha. We did have a party for her last week, and I had to convince her to come to the board meeting today because she already retired on Friday. So if you want to say something,
like to say a few words?
Okay, she'll try.
I'll try without tearing up. It's been a great haul, I would say. I would say SBCAG is probably one of the best places I've ever worked, over my 39 years. Testament to the leadership, the staff that's here, the staff that are back in the office working. I'm not leaving because I wanted to leave. I left because it was time to leave. So the work's great, I would have continued working, but it just didn't make much sense. I have a husband that's retired, and we're going to do some fun stuff now.
Yay.
But thank you for your support as well, supporting the team. Thank you for everything. Thanks.
Yeah, good job. Good job.
And that concludes my report.
Okay. Thank you, Director Kern. Now we'll move on to Mr. Irwin.
Thank you, Chair. Joe Irwin with Caltrans here for Director Scott Eads. I have a few announcements for the board. I wanted to first thank everybody that came out to the Alamo Pintado Bridge Replacement public meeting that we held on August 7th. We got a lot of good comments, good questions, and concerns on the project, which we appreciate. And so we've extended that public comment period for the environmental document that's out for review. We've extended that to tomorrow. So that'll be the last day to get comments in on that project if you have them. Also wanted to report about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago or so, work was completed on the left turn closure at Santa Lucia Canyon Road onto Highway 1. That's something we've been talking about the last couple of meetings, but report that has been completed. Also, last meeting, I reported that the Gaviota rest areas were closed, and they have been closed since January 1st due to a water supply issue. We anticipate that being resolved at the beginning of October, so they should be back open in the fall. And then finally, 166 has been opened in the eastern portion of it last week following the closure of the Gifford fire, or as a result of the Gifford fire. But I want to give travelers and motorists warning that they should expect intermittent closures and flagging operations as we're going and doing needed repairs, as the fire damaged a lot of guardrail and pavement and other resources on the highway. And so there'll be some rock scaling activities as the fire burned through the hillsides there. We don't want any debris falling down. So just be prepared that there's going to be crews out there making repairs for the next several weeks and into months. And one last one last item, the baseline Edison Roundabout, that project, if you've driven through there, through the valley, you've seen that that's been completed. We're going to be having landscaping going through there. So all the work is not done. There will be some landscaping follow-up project that will be coming online around the new year, maybe a little bit after. But that project just got allocated from the CTC in August, and so we're going to be moving forward with awarding a contract on that in the next couple of months. And I'm here for any questions or follow-ups from last meeting.
Any questions for Mr. Irwin? Mr. Arson, Director Arson.
I just have some comments regarding, and this is for the public who's out there and also for here. Caltrans has been very supportive of what's going on in and around Guadalupe and Santa Maria Valley. And for instance, there's about $86 million, $86.5 million that's going to touch Guadalupe in one sense and another. And there was a comment that this individual didn't know what was going on. Every month, you have the project update from you all, from the Caltrans office. When we opened up the school, we had a ribbon cutting for the new school. Prior to that, we had Caltrans meet with the project, the Pasadena DJ Farms director, city staff, to see how we could basically improve how kids get across the street from 166, from Obispo Street to the other side. And for this information that I share, that you all shared with us, is shared at the city council meetings, and Councilmember Hernandez is going to attest to that. It's shared. If people want to know what's going on, all they need to do is view here and also listen to the council and their reports. Also, SBCAG staff, many years ago, we had to deal with Southern Pacific Railroad. Everybody has to deal with them. And Caltrans took it under their belt to actually coordinate that road, the 166 at intersection of 1 and 166. And Caltrans, Southern Pacific said, Caltrans, you lead it. And Caltrans did. And if it wasn't for the work that's been done by SBCAG staff and also with the Caltrans staff, these projects wouldn't get going. So the fall of 2025, we're going to see a lot of projects happening in and around Guadalupe. In the summer of 2026, that intersection at Obispo Street and the railroad, that's going to start moving forward. So there's a ton of projects that's going on that's going to really improve what's happening in and around Guadalupe. So if people are interested in it, listen to what's going on here and also listen to the council folks. And appreciate SBCAG and Caltrans for doing what they're doing, meeting with us. Last thing, when we met with the school for the opening of last week, Caltrans staff was there prior to that to give us their opinion on how to best keep people safe going across the street from Highway 166, which is Main Street, across to the new Pasadena development. So we appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Any further, Director Silva?
Just a moment of gratitude for your office as well. I know that the Buellton-McMurray interchange has been a journey this summer, and it's weird when one light being timed off can cause 30 minutes of traffic bleeding into Solvang. And I just wanted to say, like, the fact that we contacted your office on a Saturday and by Monday people were out there taking a look and replacing the equipment. I just really wanted to thank you for that responsiveness. I don't think Caltrans gets that note very often properly, and I just wanted to say, like, in this moment, it was something I really appreciate you guys taking that so serious and helping the public see that Caltrans is here to help keep everyone safe and moving. So I just wanted to pass along thanks to you all.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Director.
Thank you. Other board members? Director Brown.
Also another shout out for the bridge meeting that we had in Solvang. And you listened to the public saying that they hadn't received it and needed an extra week for the comment period. So thank you for extending that and being that responsive. Very appreciated.
Director Lagmillo.
Thank you, Chair. I think mine was, I missed Margie's, and I just kind of wanted to piggyback on what Director Julian was talking about on with the public comment about 166. Can you just refresh my memory on the contract for CHP extended enforcement?
That was focused on the east side of 166. Okay. So we will be having periodic updates from CHP at your subregional to give you updates so you can provide comments and direction at that and those opportunities. But the focus was on
only east side.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to take a look at that next time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further board questions or comments? Anyone from Santa Barbara? It's pretty quiet down there today. Okay, very good. With that, thank you very much, Mr. Earl. We'll move on to committee meeting updates. Start out with LoSAN Director Perotti.
Thank you, Chair
Any report?
Rouse. We're here. We're quiet, but we're here. The meeting on LoSAN meeting on July 21st was a pretty quick meeting, actually. They talked about the improvements to San Clemente, what they're doing down there. We briefly talked about the agreement with the peak period intercity rail service, like you heard earlier, the presentation. We were hopeful that the board would receive something in August. I even asked for a special meeting, but there was nothing we realized that, that there's a lot of stakeholders. There's SBCAG, there's VCTC, there's Metrolink, there's Union Pacific. So we know how hard all the people behind the scenes are working to get this accomplished. So it was a little disappointing that we're not going to be able to start in October, but it's moving along, and there's just a few more items that are needed. They also reported on ridership on rail is up, and they're doing a lot of promotional. They have one night now to celebrate Disneyland's, if you haven't heard about Disneyland's 70th anniversary, and the trains, some of the trains are all decked out in Disney pictures, and they have a special shuttle that takes you to your hotel, and a lot of cool things on the train for the kids to do. So that'd be fun. The train, taking the train down to Disneyland would be a fun adventure for families. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And then let's see, the CalVans Director Nelson is not here, and CalCog, no, Director Nelson's not here, so I'll move on to CRCC. Aaron and I went down to the facility in the Aero Zero Emission Multiple Unit Facility Tour, where they make produce the hydrogen powered trains. Pretty fascinating facility. Don't miss living down there where I grew up, but it was interesting to see. And then Director Brown actually attended or online the other part of the CRCC meeting. If you'd like to give us an update on that, please.
Real quick, couple of things. The SB 741, where there's relaxed environmental procedures for reconstruction or maintenance, even for the train systems, that's moving forward. There was no objection per se by the committee. They have complete, or the Ortega project is near done. I understand, or excuse me, on process. The Ortega project, which is an extra rail line for passing north-south. And my question, and maybe it would come up with Aaron, if that would enhance or create even another train line between north and south, beyond the one that we just had a report on today. And then the Vandenberg Bridge has been completed, and now the Pacific coastline, or Pacific Surfliner, is now able to run. That was a good thing. And then there's plans to redo the San Ynez River Bridge, and there was also a report that the fare box and ridership is up, and they're reporting a 90% on-time schedules. That's all I had.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we can move on to the 1-minute reports. Does anybody have a 1-minute report? Director Brown.
We'd like to invite everybody to Danish Days coming up on September 19th. Please come in. It's a lot of able skiers and Danish sausage, and it's a good party. So hope you can come out.
All right. Anyone else? Anybody from Santa Barbara? So in Santa Barbara, we have our ATB Cycle 6 projects that are coming to fruition, and the Cliff Drive project will go before the Santa Barbara City College Board tonight with a design update. So we're doing all sorts of wacky stuff down there. And any other reports from anyone? Okay, I believe that's it. And with that, we'll adjourn. The next meeting will be September 18th, 2025 in Santa Barbara. Thank you very much.
Thank you.